Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor is excused. District 3, Councilman Lethem.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Present.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Fernando, can you read the invocation?
Dear Lord, thank you that we can be gathered here today to do the city's work. Please help us to make the best decisions possible to help our community moving forward. Special blessings for all those employees that are celebrating special anniversaries, and to our new employees that they feel welcome and prosper here at City of Globe. And please bless all our first responders who put their lives in jeopardy every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yes, you can use them.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with summary from advance. Jesse, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me.
Thank you, Mike.
Anybody like that? Say aye.
Mariano.
Just two things, Mr. Mayor. I took a walk over to the aquatic center last night, and it was just a joy to walk around the park. Just a wonderful thing that I see we have put into motion. I'm really proud of that. It's just a nice place to be, and walked up to watch the baseball games too. That's a lot of fun. So the park is really growing, and there's a lot of use going on up there, so I'm really pleased with that. The other thing I always like to reiterate is, if you want to know what the City of Globe is doing, we have a strategic action plan that states in the aggregate what we're doing and what we're about, which means improvement of as much of our infrastructure that we can at this time. Big chunks of work, if you will, in every avenue of our infrastructure. So it's really hard when someone comes up to me and asks, I've got this little pothole. And I'm honest about it, and I say we're trying to redo the entire road, not just the pothole. And if you read this, you might be a little surprised that it's going to happen. And there's more to come. So please read it, and then come at me with your favorite pothole problem. I'll be glad to work on it. So I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Fernando.
Just a couple of things. I had the privilege of attending Mayor Rosemary Castaned's funeral, and I just was really pleased with the turnout. She was a wonderful person and dedicated her life to public service, and I just think it was great to see that many people come out to show their respects, even though I had to stand and tired. But I was glad to see that. So it was beautiful, and I saw that the police department was out in force to help with the traffic. So thank you very much for doing that too. And then I just want to remind everybody that Community Days is coming up. That's put on by the Historic Museum, and it's one of our bigger fundraisers. It also brings a lot of people from outside of the community into Globe. So if you can support that in any way, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Brady.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to offer my condolences to AJ. Unfortunately, I was committed to be out of town the day of your mother's services, but I knew Rosemary Castaneda for quite a number. Have had the opportunity to work with her in various capacities with my job and her involvement with the city of the town of Miami. I'm sorry. She's a great lady, very honorable, and I actually learned a lot from her on just how to be a person in this community, a good leader in this community. So again, my condolences to you and your family. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Brady. I have a couple of things. Citizens Academy begins tomorrow. It's the first class. I think we're around a dozen people there. You still have the opportunity to sign up for it. Just get a hold of Lisa here at City Hall, and we'll meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And it'll be every Wednesday, I think, for 7 weeks.
Yes.
Also, the next day, Thursday at 10 o'clock, out front here, the Gorman Company is going to have their ribbon cutting. I guess it's ribbon cutting they call it.
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking
Yeah.
for their new facility. They're going to have a canopy. They're going to have some stuff out here. So it'll be held here instead of on site. So it's at 10 o'clock in the morning. if we can come by and support the Orton Company on their project. And then again, I want to invite everybody that night, starting at 5 o'clock to the State of the City address, inviting the council, anybody in the community to please come out and listen to some of all the things that are going on within our city. Hopefully we'll cover a lot of that, but also enjoy free meals for the first 300 with Tequila Hog, and we'll have some dessert items from, forget who that is, one of the name of them. Yeah, Sweet Tooth or something, yeah. And then they'll have live music by Sneezy from San Carlos, and then they'll have a DJ here also. So invite everybody to come out, enjoy the night. Hopefully we'll get some information across to you in the State of the City address. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, so we're all geared up, trying to make that mad dash to Thanksgiving. When we get to the holidays, so a lot of time to get a lot of stuff done before we move into that holiday period, then come back in January. But it's been very busy. We probably have a little bit fuller agenda in 2 weeks. Lots of good news coming forward, and this is just time for us to get things done. So all your staff is working hard and still just working on all those issues, all those council priorities. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all I have for you.
Thank you. So we go to our first community call to the public. Again, this is a time when anybody wishes to make any comments to the council is able to. You have a sign-in card at the back, or you can do comments online. You are limited to 3 minutes, and we're not able to respond to you at that time, but we can give direction. And I want to thank Eric. He did put up with a little timer just to help with that.
Yeah.
Control some of the time. Sometimes we haven't had an issue with it, but it is nice to have that so that whoever the presenter may be able to see that and see that they, they're getting close to their time.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody online?
I see nobody in emails, anybody on the
And
phone,
no text.
and no one approaching the podium. So unfortunately, we won't get to use our timer yet.
Okay, so we'll go to special presentations. Item 3A is introduction of Tammy Guerno, Human Resources Generalist, newly hired employee in the Administration Department.
So Tammy, I'm going to ask you to jump up there and just, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is Tammy. She, Grenade is how I've
I was
been.
going to ask you if I said it right.
Yeah. Grenade, and we worked about an hour working on that. So, so I didn't mess that up. And Tammy's an HR professional. She's here with the city as an HR generalist, which is a professional way of saying a little bit of everything. So she comes to us with a bachelor's in HR and over 20 years experience in the West Coast with both private sectors and public sector. And she just happened to be, so you live in Wheatfields? Yeah. And she tells a story of her son being on Indeed going, Mom, there's a job really close to you. But we happy to add Tammy, happy to find such a highly qualified and experienced professional. We need to, like I say, we need to gear up our 9 million we spend in staffing for the 120 people we have at the city, and we need to provide them the services, be a little bit more proactive. We have some initiatives, supervisor training, and many things that we're working on to kind of up our game in our HR department. Pam's been doing her best, but Pam is still doing payroll on top of everything else. And so this putting a second person in there has been really helpful. And I think we'll talk more in the future about some of the results that will come from that. But we're just so happy to have Tammy on board because she just is very, very bright, very chipper, very positive. It's just a fresh face. So Tammy, anything you want to share with council?
Well, thank you, Paul. That was very nice. I moved to Globe probably about a year ago, and I love it here. My husband and I, we love the outdoors and go to Roosevelt Lake and all the great things around here. And I'm really excited to meet all the great faces and people, and everyone's been very welcoming to me. And I enjoy learning so much more about government. The public work I've done has been in school, so being with a municipality has been very exciting to me. And I look forward to working with all of you and starting up the Citizens Academy and learning more about that. So thank you all for the nice welcome.
Welcome, Jen. We have item B is employee recognition of 10 years of service, July 24, 2013 for Tamara Guerin,
Good.
Active Adult Center.
Yeah, and Tammy Guerin is not here right now. I don't know if she's going to make it. No, so she is not going to make that in. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we'll deliver that. I'll deliver that to her the next chance we get. But Tammy, let me say some things about Tammy though. Our other Tammy, and I will tell you, they've both been getting cross emails because it's Tammy starting with a. So it doesn't take much to trip me up. But with both with the Tammy G's. But I'm sure you've all met Tammy Guerin at the Active Adult Center. She took over managing that. I know she had big shoes to fill. She's just always just knocking out of the park down there. You think that, working with senior citizens, grouping together in lunch and party settings would be simple, but there's a lot of dynamics that she works with down there. She keeps them occupied. She runs the Meals on Wheels. She keeps the food coming out. During the pandemic, they were still open, cooking and bagging food and everything like that. She just really is a quiet soldier, providing to those seniors our Active Adult Center down there, gets things ordered, and just it's a really, we've been down there and we've had meetings down there, but she's just really a wonderful asset to the city, and I'd like to congratulate her 10 years, and we will share that with her.
Thank you. Item C is employee recognition of 5 years of service, hire date April 30th, 2018 for Beth McQuarrie, Police Support Technician 3.
So I'm just gonna have, all of my employees come down to the front now. Officer Verdugo and Officer Perez, you two also step down. So this evening, we're recognizing 3 Glow PD team members that are marking their 5 years of service. We're fortunate to have each of them on board, and their contributions to the department and the entire community are invaluable. Beth actually, I'll go start with Beth first. She actually started her career with Glow PD in 1976 in dispatch. She worked in various positions within the police department until 2008, when she decided to give retirement a try. She retired as our support services supervisor and records manager. We're fortunate that in 2018, she returned to the police department full-time records clerk. Nobody has more knowledge of the inner workings of the police department than Beth, and we're grateful for her loyalty, work ethic, and top product that she provides. Thank you, Beth. Officer Perez came on board with Glow PD in 2018 as a lateral officer from another department. He worked the majority of the last 5 years in patrol and recently put in for and was assigned as a school resource officer at Globe High School. Officer Perez is an asset to the department and is one of our general instructors who specializes in teaching defensive tactics, as well as training new officers as they come in. We were excited to see him succeed in his newest role as one of our school resource officers. Officer Jesus Verdugo. So these two ride together. Officer Perez, they might have a little heated battle they're going home tonight because Officer Verdugo didn't bother to tell Officer Perez to dress in a Class A. Officer Verdugo came in as a lateral officer from another agency with 7 years of experience. experience. He brought with him a multitude of certifications and skills to include defensive tactics instructor, taser instructor, bull wrap instructor, and physical training instructor. He started out in the patrol division where he served his first year until we were able to reestablish our school resource program, at which time he applied for and was awarded the only SRO position at that time. Officer Verdugo split time between the junior high and the high school for over the last 4 years. And his ability to connect with the youth and his always positive attitude made the program a success that it is today, allowing us to assign an individual officer to 3 different school campuses. Officer Verdugo always makes himself available for the community events, and his commitment, along with his skill in grilling carne asada, makes him highly valued. I appreciate each of you for your dedication and service that you have provided to this community over the last 5 years. Congratulations on that milestone.
And if you guys want to say something, the 3 of you,
Congratulations, all 3 of you. If you want something to say,
yeah.
you're more than welcome.
Probably gonna turn the timer off.
I'm always down to say something if that's okay. Go up to the podium.
Yeah. No, Joe, go ahead.
Should we start the clock?
Yeah.
You got 1 minute.
I'll be short and sweet. I just wanted to say it's been an incredible journey since I've been here. I was tased right here.
All right.
I was the only one who volunteered for that tasing. So 5 years later, here I am receiving this. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so when I came to Globe, I had no idea where Globe was. They tried to recruit me up here. I was like, Globe, where do you go? So I started doing my research. I was like, oh, it looks like a nice little mining town, which I have grown to love. And honestly, I did not expect to be here for 5 years. So I'm definitely grateful for what the police department and the city has done, for us in general, because a lot of changes have been made since I started, and believe me, they're all positive. Grateful to work for the city. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
No more racism. I'm sorry, no more racism, Officer Rudigo?
No,
Okay.
it's a policy now.
I will say the teasing incident was really awesome. And the broken leg was kind of cute too. And I've always loved working for the city of Globe, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, members of council, if you look at that group, you want to know who runs the place. Well, it's bad. Yeah. Also, I'd love to go down the list of all the former dispatchers that you worked with. I know that Haley and Judge Reardon and even Pam was there. So, anyways.
Been there a long time.
Mhm.
So that took up care of item CDE. So we'll go to item F. And that is presentation to council by the Economic and Community Development Department to review discuss the Development Services Division mission and vision statement. We have Linda.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I was here that morning when the officer was tased. My daughter was here. It was a Friday, and school on Friday. And we got to sit right here and watch him get tased. It made an impact on it. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight and presenting our mission and vision for our community development side of our department. And as you know, we've come a long way in the last few years. It's only been 2 years that we've been a combined department, and we have 2 of our newest members here in the audience, Tony Manfredi, our building official, and Mary Helen, she actually runs the department. She is our permit technician, development tech. And so, So our mission, and I think this is something that we all share, not just our staff here at our department, but I think mayor and council organization, that we share this. So to formalize this, we would like to move forward and state on our website and future marketing that our mission is to protect the public health, safety, and integrity of Globe's assets, to promote and support the improvements and aesthetics of our residential and commercial districts by providing extraordinary customer service to our current and future residents. Because it's important to serve those that are making the investments here in our community now, that have lived here their entire lives and for generations, but also to be inviting to future development and future residents of our community. So our vision's a little more, I don't want to say fuzzy, but it's more aspirational. So our vision is to improve upon the quality of Globe's housing and building stock with an emphasis on safe, accessible, and efficient structures to enhance the quality of life of our citizens through a commitment to modern code compliance, consistent and timely service, and implementation of strategic plans for a livable and thriving community. So we've always had code, and I know that some community members are saying, why is this, where are they coming from? Why all of a sudden are they doing code enforcement? Well, it's not really that. It's now that we have a more diversified department, we can focus on our commercial corridor. Really, that's what's driving the development and inviting the investment into the community. We hear it every single day. In fact, I have some appointments set up with some investors that are here specifically because Gorman is in town. They follow Gorman. Gorman is doing housing, and as we all know, Gorman's done housing in Tempe and Phoenix for 15 years. So they follow that development because that's going to bring population, and they maintain their developments. And so that just invites them to come in and follow the path that Gorman is taking. Consistent and timely service. We all want to provide consistent and extraordinary customer service, and with Tony and with Mary Helen and with Michelle, with Connie, with Melissa, even if we don't have the answer, we'll field the question and we'll find the answer. And so our department strives for that. And as you know, we're a small department. You know, we've taken the past couple of years to really rebuild and lay a proper foundation for what a modern development services department provides for a growing and thriving city. And strategic plans. We have spent many years, the last 4 years, really fine-tuning our SAP, council's SAP. And that's really been the roadmap that has gotten us to where we are today. And it's important that we stay true to that we follow that as we move forward and develop internal policy, and policy evolves. I mean, we all talk about the growing pains that we're all going through. And for instance, the food truck situation. We never thought we would be in a position where we have almost 30 operating food trucks in our community. That is amazing. It's thrilling. We're working with a handful that want to become brick and mortar. You know, 4 years ago, that wasn't the case. We really had 3. And then when we began First Friday as a COVID response for the community, for our business community, that just was such a terrific incubator for our food trucks to become brick and mortar restaurants. So why do we do this? What's our why? Our why is so important. And first and foremost, that's safety. Making sure that our residents are safe, our business owners are safe, their employees are safe, and the public safety personnel that go into any and all of these structures can do so safely. I think we've seen some recent events here in the community that there's been loss of some pretty amazing assets, and they cannot be replaced. We don't want to lose any of our beautiful downtown buildings, and we definitely don't want anyone to lose their home. And so how do we do that? Well, it begins with safety. And that's by moving forward, following updated code, which we'll be coming back to talk to council more about next month or so. Second, so as we said, moving forward with building code, also with fire code. and I'm not, hopefully I'm not stepping out of my lane, but just kind of making that mention. It goes hand in hand, and our departments work very well together. We're fortunate to have staff that are really in alignment in how we can move forward and do so efficiently and together, because it takes all of us. It's going to take our department, it's going to take the fire department, of course, the police department and public works. Together, we have a TAP committee, a technical assistance committee, and we also have the imminent hazard committee, which addresses situations such as the Economy Inn hotel that has recently burned in November. And so, as you've seen, it's recently been demolished, and now it's being put up for sale, and we actually have great interest in this property. Back to safety. Partnerships with developers and property owners, that they know, that they believe that the city is working hand in hand with them to build a safer and thriving community. And again, learning from our past experiences and lost history, Mayor Gameros, you share your time on your story as as fire chief. How many structures were lost in your 30 years?
In the 30 years, I think we had 8 downtown fires, and I think we lost 5 structures.
We hope that we don't lose anymore. Again, can't replace them, but what can we do? And that's to help new owners, current owners that maybe don't have the means or have the know-how to access the means to make their buildings more safe. And of course, we want to preserve Globe's character. That's first and foremost. And what are the benefits? Well, it allows us to best serve current and future customers through proper cost recovery. Right now, we in the past year, we've really taken strides in looking to utilize our current fee schedule, because of course we have to bring forth an updated and proposed fee schedule update. So with cost recovery in mind, how do we grow our department so that we can better serve current and future customers? Well, that's through user fees. And we do have some in place, and we actually, Mary Helen did an audit on a project, and this was a recent project in the last couple of years, and we had a tremendous loss. We lost $27,000 in fees that we did not bill for. And that's because we didn't have the staff that could consistently stay on top of these projects to do so. And so now that we do, and of course we do have some pushback. It hasn't always been that way, and they're absolutely right. But moving forward, we're consistent in how we take a look at projects and how we look to cost recovery in order to better serve them in the future. Another benefit, adopting the most current codes and standards is the most efficient and effective method for creating safe, sustainable environments that protect and improve our public safety, our public health, our welfare, and of course, economic interests of our community. And we do this through consistent standards. We treat everyone the same, absolutely. We have to. And this builds mutual confidence and transparency, which is one of our priorities and goals as we move forward in growing not just our department, but our community. We want to keep that short and sweet, hopefully keep this to a shorter meeting for everyone here tonight. And are there any questions or comments?
Questions or comments? No?
What building code are we using? It's like 2008? Three?
Fire 12?
And I was talking to Tony the other day, and he was mentioning to me, and being an insurance agent, it's something I think about, but if we don't have a more current code, we actually get dinged on our fire rating. And so we just can't achieve as high a rating as we could if we had more current codes. So.
And that's one of the things I'm actually going through right now and looking at, because that rating is coming up for the community. But currently, the city had adopted 2003. One of the challenges that we face because we haven't adopted is is there's a state requirement that we be in line with the state or better. So that's one of the challenges we've had. And we've been very fortunate that a lot of the developers that come in, they're already working in more updated code sets that they're used to normally working in. So that has helped us tremendously. As we look forward, our goal is to set it where no matter what with our fire code, we're always in line with the state and make sure that we keep up with that. And that way, as you said, it helps us when we look at ISO ratings, it helps us to make sure that we know it's a small area, we struggle with resources in terms of the volume of calls and stuff, and anything we can do on the preventive side that helps us be ahead of the curve when it comes to fire rating stuff is gonna benefit the business owners, is gonna benefit the business owners' neighbors, and making sure, and all their customers that enter into these commercial structures.
Can I ask another follow-up question? So, I think it was a couple of years ago, I was one of the rural policy forums, and one of the breakout sessions I went to was actually put on, one of the panelists was City of Florence. And so they were really reluctant to adopt the most current codes because there was like these whole sections of their old town that were already there that could no way comply with the new codes. And so what they said that they did is they went ahead and adopted the new codes, but then kind of created a special area where they would look at how can we solve it within the constraints that we have. That we can't change the lot line because buildings are already there. And so, is that something that we would be looking at doing here?
We are looking at amendments that we can make to the 21 code. Tony, would you like to come up here and speak to that point? Bring the technical expert.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. To answer that question, can you hear me okay? Mayor always yells at me because I'm not close enough. Best way to answer that is, so when you adopt new code, it's not a cover-all for everybody. So when you look at it, and it's kind of an incorrect notion that you say, we don't adopt new code because we have so many old structures. That's not how code works. Code works by way of any new additions to your home, right, is covered by new code. The rest of it, untouched, unscathed, stays, I don't want to use grandfathered, I'll use pre-existing, right? And it stays to that aspect. Now, there's a rule that comes along with that. It's called the 50% rule. It's usually 50% of the value of the structure. If you exceed that, if I'm remodeling a structure and I exceed the 50% rule of value of the work, then you bring it up to full code. Those aspects are there because now you're disturbing the structure in such a way that it presents a life safety hazard, right? If we don't apply the correct code to it. If we only do a portion and you're exceeding that 50%, the alterations that you're conducting are really making it worse than better, right? Because the rest of the structure doesn't adhere. Secondly, we do adopt the international existing building code. We do that for our jurisdiction because we're unique. We have 100-year-old homes, 100 plus. So that allows a lot of forgiveness on when you remodel. So an example of that would be, let's say I have an old, let's go commercial here. Let's say I have an old commercial structure, 3 stories in height, and I want to remodel it. And I come in and the codes say, well, now ADA standards have to kick in, and then egress, ingress. How do I get to the 3rd story? That means I put an elevator in. We all know how much that would cost and how intrusive that would be to remodel it. So existing building code forgives those things. Another aspect would be hallways. That could be residential or commercial. Hallway widths, as you know, in older homes are pretty tight. Right, nowadays, they have to meet a certain requirement, usually 36 inches. They allow for people with disabilities to enter the home and do their thing. Makes sense. However, the old homes, again, very intrusive. So if I wanted to remodel my home and the building department is saying, you're gonna have to widen up your hallways, now I'm cutting into every room in the house, very intrusive, very expensive, really wouldn't work for most of these houses. So that's how the code really works with pre-existing non-conforming homes. Has nothing to do with whether we're in the 21 code or the 24 code and the house is 100. It has nothing to do with that. And we do have ordinance. So our ordinance dictates what uses, right, these buildings can be for, and that makes a difference in how we follow code. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. And then if I can touch, the chief touched on ISO ratings. We did talk about ISO ratings. So ISO ratings are across the board for sections. So fire department would have an ISO rating, building safety department would have an ISO rating, and so forth. Most of the times, and we'll have people here to talk about this more in depth if you have a better understanding of that. So ISO rating right off the get-go, being that we're 20 plus years behind code, we're failed. And not only are we failed, but we're operating against state law. We're in trouble. We have an obligation to bring those codes up to date. That's how it works. And if we don't, we get pinged for that, and we legally be pinged for that legality. We don't want that to happen. That's why we're moving forward into getting modern codes and setting a standard in place so this doesn't happen again for the city of Globe. We'll have something set up to where, for example, maybe we don't adopt every year's new code, and it's a 3-year cycle, but I would suggest that we adopt every other. Minimizes cost, there's minimum amendments in the code in between those cycles, right? Less work on the process of adoption. We don't have to go, so when you look at all the books that we adopt, we go through section by section, page by page, and really have to be diligent about what we're adopting and what we change and why we do it. Adoption is all about the unique characteristics of the jurisdiction. That's why we adopt amendments. Helps us further things along, and amendments are more stringent, can't be less stringent than an adopted code. It doesn't work like that either. So that's why we're very careful about what we do. Most of your adoptions fall under administrative, so it's all about processes and how we ask and work those processes and the information we ask. That goes a long way. So it's really not about altering bills. It's really about the administration side and how we do things that keeps us out of trouble and helps people get permitted and send the proper information in and how we do it. We stay modern. But that ISO rating, if we were to get audited right now, and they tend to leave, so myths out there, so they tend to leave the smaller communities alone, but they audit, so they come in and being in the insurance industry, so they tend to leave it because they understand the dynamics behind smaller jurisdictions with manpower, cost, abilities, right? But as you start seeing more activity and things going on, then they'll look at you a little bit more closely and they want to come in. So those ISO ratings can really dramatically affect our insurance rates, our build rates, and all kinds of things to the citizens of this city, to the point where we may not be insurable. So we don't want that to happen. So that's where I just wanted to touch on that ISO board too. Is there anything else?
Actually, Mayor, I did, but the conversation was answered, so thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a comment. Yeah, I do appreciate what your department's doing, and I think people need to realize that. I know that in my 30 years working for the city and then 8 years as mayor, I have not seen the type of activity that we've seen in the past couple of years. People don't really realize how much it's really kicked up, and that requires us to really enhance our departments. All the departments are overstretched with what we're doing and trying to play catch up. But truly, we can't let our growth outgrow our codes. We need to be up to date with them. We have an old city, 100+ year. You know, when I talk about losing 5 buildings and 5 structures in the downtown in 30 years, it doesn't seem like a lot, but just one of them in that time frame is important. You know, these buildings have basements in them, they're right next to each other. We need to protect people's investment, and we protect our investment, because downtown is our investment. That's what attracts people to our community and brings our revenue. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And it's ironic, a lot of this stuff is some of the stuff that I'm gonna mention in my state of the city, you know, because I think that's what I believe what Flow Forward is. That's one part of it, is to make sure that we protect our community. Thank you.
Tony had mentioned, that we have, is it 5 new home builds this year?
5 plus 2 factory-built buildings, so 7 of them.
More than we've seen in recent years. This is huge.
I would just like to acknowledge that there's a lot of partners in the community that really stepped up, like Regina and Thea's group doing all the staircases and the arch, and it's just, all of that helps, you know, to make our community. I met some the other day, they came up just to do this to Arizona. I'm like, to me, it sounded kind of gimmicky, you know, so I was like, oh, that's cute, and I really liked that they approved it. And then the other thing I want to say is, when we did that community pride thing, I wrote down a lot of those things that people put on, and it's amazing how many of those we've accomplished. It's like, I'm like, wow, we did over half of them already. We accomplished
Community town hall.
Yeah, and so it's good to see the community step up and see everybody working together, so thank you for that.
And I just want to commend you and your team. You guys have done an excellent job, and you talk about consistency and how we might have gotten complacent before, but and I feel like that's what's happening. Is you guys are doing a great job of making sure that it's consistent across the board. And so I want to commend you for that. It's hard to do, especially when we have the history of not doing it. So sticking that line and towing that line, making sure that's being done. So I commend you.
Thank you. It's, like you said, it's hard when you love your community. We're also residents, and we go to the grocery store. We get caught in the grocery store. We get yelled at. You know, our kids in school. We're community members first and foremost, and we really believe in the work that we're all contributing to here. So we just greatly appreciate council's support, and we can't wait to move forward all together.
I think one of the, you're right, together is that we're at that point where we all need to be part of it, contribute to that growth. And I don't care if we're an employee of our city or a resident of our city or a community member. We all need to play a role in order to make our city continue to grow, our community grow. So we need to all be part of it.
And kind of coming back to touch upon something that Tony had mentioned as we move forward to update our fire and building code and fee schedule, there will be a public component to that. So we're working with a third-party vendor who will come in, and we're going to be taking a look at what other similarly sized communities have done and have moved forward to updating too. And so with this, there will be that opportunity for community members, for outside vendors that are doing work, for local contractors that are doing work here in the community, or people that are just curious as to what this all really means, and does it impact them? And the answer is absolutely yes. We invite everyone to take part of it, and we'll be kicking this off in the next, I'd say in the next 3-4 weeks, and we'll of course let everyone know far in advance.
Mr. Mayor, last week, ASU brought up to Blair Plaza 40 urban planning students who were pursuing urban planning. Their focus was to work with and study the town of Miami. And I was the docent that day, so it was a real pleasure to meet them. And all these young kids had one burning question in between the sessions. They wanted to know what was the relationship of all the communities, government, the county in this region. They wanted to know if we were all working together to promote and bring the community forward in the subjects that they were told by Alexis, what they were working on in the town of Miami. They wanted to know the things that we're working on. What are we doing about promoting our growth? And the subjects of tourism, working hand in hand with each other the two museums working hand in hand with each other. That was the need of their breaks. They wanted to know what was going on in the region, not just trying to help the town of Miami. They were looking for the meat on the bone, is the community in the region working together. I was lucky to be there at that moment and explain some of the things to them. Everything we're doing is being done from the highest level to promote everything that we're going after, including tourism and all the other subjects about being the hub in this region. I explained that to them. They've seen that before, but they haven't heard that before for the Global Miami region. So it's a real treat for them just to sit down and talk with the town of Miami, but also to hear what the rest of the community is doing. So it's a real pleasure to work with them. They're the future. And it was really neat to sit down and talk to them. It was just by accident, and I really appreciated the issue bringing it up. It was really neat. That's all I have to say.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just a quick comment. I asked for this presentation. I think it's important that we define what development services is and what they do. When I started here, we'd have like one P&Z meeting a year, and that was so everybody knew where City Hall was. There wasn't much going on. We were doing one housing development per year, one housing permit per year. And we had one person doing all facets. Things have changed. The council has done the heavy lifting. You've changed the attitudes and the perception of Globe, and people are coming here to invest. And this is a transitional period, and we have to let people know the development services as partners in growth. We're not a barrier to growth. We're their partner in growth, because you can't have the amount of growth that we're having now and have it be helter-skelter and people living by different standards and different options and doing things different ways, like they have, like Councilman Leatham said, like they have in the past. We have to treat everybody consistently. We have to make sure that everybody is held to the same standard, because there's nothing more upsetting than to think that one person was able to do this one way and one another way. Now we have those people who remember the past, but this is for trying to get the city on board with managed and controlled growth that's going to benefit every business owner, every developer, and then every resident, and make us that place where people want to come to develop, because we are consistent, we are fair.
Thank you for the presentation. Item 4 is consent calendar. Matters listed on the consent calendar considered to be routine or be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A, prior discussion rules to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. 1, accounts payable $603,408.48. 2, consideration of agreements and purchases less than $25,000. 3, consideration of approval of council minutes. 3A is consideration to approve the September 12, 2023 meeting minutes. Is there anybody from the staff, council, or public wishing to remove any of these items for separate consideration?
See none, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda as read. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any opposing, abstaining? My motion passed. And then we have no new business.
No, Mayor.
We have no action items.
No, Mayor. Oh, we'd have one.
We have one action.
We'd have one action.
6A.
Almost. Yeah, scared. Poor Shelley. I was looking at the clock. I went,
I looked at the next page, sorry. Discussion and consideration to approve change order number 1 for CA-2023 for 0028 with Rick Engineering for the Daybreak Drive waterline design for $8,998 in addition to fiscal year 24 work performed for $869. Available in account number 50-80-53000 Water Fund Contingency. John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We come with this item before you. The past year, we've actually identified as kind of one of those hit lists that we require infrastructure upgrades and enhancements. This area on Daybreak, we reached out to Rick Engineering and identified that as the area that we were looking for possible funding for upgrades in our water line. What it is, it's an old AC line that's actually between property lines. There's easements, of course. But we found that it actually sits above 10 feet above grade, so the residents could be tremendously affected by it. So Rick Engineering's been doing a design for us, and actually we'd be doing a little bit more in upgrade on the water line service itself, but actually taking it out of those areas and putting that out in the street. This item before you tonight, what this is expanding that. There's additional footage that we found another line that's actually in the process of looking to design this work. We've had 4 water leaks in the last few months, really about 2 months, and it's an old PVC line. So that's why we're wanting to add this into the design now, so we could actually, when we get to the point of bidding, it's actually one project.
On this part of Daybreak, that's in the city within a parcel of that is county then, right?
Yes, it actually falls kind of into the county, but it's actually from the main up our Saguaro, the water line feeds off the hill. So it actually goes into the county, and there's room for some growth, but it's more private property. And there's, right now, it would be affecting up to 26 residents, but some of the upgrade that we're doing actually will increase hydrants in that area where there currently isn't anything, so it'd be more of a fire. But it actually is a crossover. The majority, a lot of it is in private county, but it is this area we do serve.
Go ahead, sorry.
John, so, what size is the PVC line?
The current, the PVC line right now is actually 1.5 inches. What this design is adding, the line is an AC line, the main line is a 6 inch so we're upgrading to an 8 inch, but this line would be a 4 inch. What this does is actually go up a side road where there's almost, I think it was 14 residences that it would be affecting in that area. And specifically on the hydrants, there's none in that area. What there is up on top of the hill off of Saguaro. So if there was any type of situation that we needed something, we would not have the flow that we need down in the bottom.
So we're actually feeding the fire hydrant with 1.5 inch PVC line?
There actually is no fire hydrants in there. By going with we're
you're
upsizing from the 6 to the 8. That's for the main line off the road. With this add-on, then on this design, it's actually adding that additional 4. So we could actually tie those on, and we wouldn't be coming off, still coming off the side there, but we wouldn't be, right now, there's actually no fire hydrants in there.
Daybreak's that little dead end street, is that?
Yeah, it comes off of Saguaro, it actually dumps down, and actually at Daybreak, it does kind of dead end, and then there's some residents and stuff.
Madeira.
Yeah, Madeira.
Yeah, it's like, it's a right below, right?
Yes,
Madeira
yeah,
Beach,
right below there, yes.
Okay.
They'll be on the south side of Saguaro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we know we require, I think we have a talent in that Daybreak area. To operate with water tenders and everything else. Shelley, I may have said the number wrong. Was it 5220, not 53? 5220.
Yes, when we make the motion, we're going to ask council to transfer from contingency into our capital construction account. And that account number is 5-80-52200.
Yeah, correct. That would be my correction.
Yes.
Contingency, Paul, that's our restricted contingency fund that we're pulling out.
That was contingency put aside for these types of on-call engineering projects. But it's in contingency. This guarantees that we come to you before we spend any of these money. So the procurement's done, but we move the money at the time. But it's not the protected. It's dedicated to this cause or this purpose.
And we don't have to be concerned with the prior discussion rule because it's just an amendment. It's a
Right. This has been talked about before.
And this is strictly again for design.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
motion to approve change order number one for CA 2023 0028 with Drip Engineering for the Daybreak Drive waterline design in the amount of $8,998, and approve the transfer of contingency funds in an amount of $9,867 from account number 50-80-53000, so line item number 50-80-52200, water capital outlay construction. And I think this doesn't change the overall department funding resolution.
Second.
A motion and second for approval of item 6A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
We have no late agenda items?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Second call to the public, do we have anybody online or maybe email?
I'll look real quick. I see nothing
There are no texts.
on email.
Okay, so scheduling meetings, do we have any?
No schedule.
Consideration of future agenda items.
Mayor, I just got a quick question, because on the WIPA committee that I'm on,
Mhm.
they no longer do minutes because the whole thing is recorded, so anybody can go in, pick the meeting and listen to it. So they're saying that complies with the meeting minutes requirement. Now, I also sit on the college board,
Mhm.
and that we wanted to have minutes, that way we would be able to quickly go to a reference tool to see what we did. That was much easier for us than trying to listen. But I just didn't know if that was something that we wanted to change, or we wanted to keep it the way it was, because it sounds like the requirements no longer require us to do 30 minutes.
I think the tradition in city government, what all the clerks are still doing is minutes that are composed and printed and posted. I don't think that there's enough. I think there'd have to be some changes in the law for us to get away, because we have posting requirements.
Yes, I'm unaware of any changes. Arizona state statute that.
At least
are
as
required.
municipalities.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I know, and we do. I mean, we have the YouTube videos that have a record, but I think that formal required set of minutes is at least at this point. But we can ask around and see if anybody else
I'm not married to it, I just thought it
Yeah.
might be easier if we don't have to.
Yeah, no.
Somebody has to type it up.
Okay.
Any other future agenda items considered?
6:59.
Motion for adjournment?
So made. Second.
Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
7 o'clock. There you go.